Now, you may grumble about the fact that your CEO earns 10 times more than you do, but would you swap working for a company in favour of living in a communist country where everyone is theoretically equal? Well, according to a new survey, a surprising number of millennials in the US would do precisely that. Now take a look at this. A non-profit group called the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation and YouGov asked 23,000 Americans whether they would rather live in a capitalist or socialist country. And here's the results. 59% said they prefer capitalism, with 34% preferring a socialist nation, as you would perhaps expect. But of the millennials in the survey, the majority said they would prefer to be in either a socialist, communist, or even a fascist country. The survey also suggests 7 in 10 Americans don't fully understand what communism is or confuse it with socialism. Meanwhile, the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., has taken his own swipe against socialism. He tweeted a picture of his rather cute toddler taken over Halloween and said, "I'm going to make half of Chloe's candy tonight, take half of Chloe's candy and give it to some kid who sat at home. It's never too early to teach her about socialism." So, to get more on all of this, let's go to Paris and join TRT World's editor-at-large, Comrade Craig Kopitas. Privyet, Craig, welcome to the show. Look, all of this coming out...
Dobry večer.
All of this coming out ahead of the centenary of the Bolshevik Revolution. That's coming up next week. What do you make of this survey?
Oh, you know, Juiceroo, iPhone 10, Theranos, communism. There's no idea so bonehead stupid that you can't get at least 22% of the millennial crowd to believe in it. And that's what this is. These numbers are pretty ridiculous, and they're based on a lot of people talking about things they don't know about. Let me tell you about communism in 2 short sentences. Communism is not love. Communism is a hammer which we use to crush the enemy. That was Mao Zedong. Now, you want to be free, millennials? Well, it's true that liberty is precious. In fact, it's so precious that it must be rationed. That was Vladimir Lenin. You know, so wow, I'm just astonished by this. But remember, an idea is not responsible for the people who believe in it. And
right. So, Craig,
that's, I think, what we have going on here.
You reported from the USSR while it was still under communist rule. What would people there at that time have said if you told them in 2017 a majority of young Americans want to be more like you rather than, you know, freewheeling capitalists?
Well, they would have howled because during my 10 years there, everyone who had any sense was trying to get out of the place.
Exactly.
And that's what's going on now. But you see, you know, you have a different dynamic going on right now. You know, there was one of many studies from the Levada Center. It's a polling outfit in Russia, and believe, you know, I would rather buy shares in Theranos than believe a Russian poll. Nonetheless, this poll said that the most outstanding person in the history of the world was Joseph Stalin, followed by, of course, Vladimir Putin. Now, of course, that's delusional, but the Russian troll farms had a real field day with this poll and other polls like it. So this kind of gets sold to the West, and as this survey and other surveys in the U.S. have pointed out, you know, the young Americans don't realize that socialism/communism is government ownership of the means of production. So, but I don't want to go into an ideological thing. God, I had enough of that in college, right?
It didn't work.
This is really frightening. And Stalin lovers, listen, let me tell you, one of Uncle Joe's favorite quotes, "Death is the solution to all problems." No man, no problem. That's a direct quote from Stalin. And it goes on and on and on. I just think a lot of young Americans don't take history. They don't read. They believe this nonsense that flows across their Twitter feeds and Facebook pages.
Right.
And this is what happens.
Right, repeating the mistakes of the past. How much of these findings, Craig, do you think is a result of the widening inequality that we see, not just in the US, but everywhere?
Well, I think there's a lot there, particularly when it comes to health care, which needs to have a more democratic type socialist model. But remember something about socialism. Socialism is terrific. Communism is even better until you have a job and you need to start saving money. Capitalism is not perfect, but believe me, communism does not work. As Felix Dzerzhinsky, the head of the Cheka in 1917, 100 years ago,
right,
he said the following: it should be frankly admitted that we stand for terror.
Okay.
And what he was talking about was the Communist Party and the Socialists.
Just yesterday, Craig, we were talking about the Republican Party's tax reforms. You said that Congress would never get behind things like a value-added tax or a carbon tax. With this survey, though, do you think that millennials will eventually get into a position of power and maybe change those things?
I don't believe so, because VAT is leveled in America on the state level, not on the federal level. It would be double taxation. And I think the carbon tax is just going to pass with the wind, because America, within, I think, 20 to 30 years, is going to have pretty much electric vehicles. That seems to be the way it's going.
Right. Craig Peters, das Vidania. Thank you very much indeed.